And I think, Dad, when you think about it, you know, if we're going to go answer the question of what does it mean to be a man, we're thinking about the roles and how far it came and how the culture changed it. I think it's a correlation of the two. You have the secular and the biblical, but I think just to sum it up for people, you have like the biblical side where you're a servant, you're a good steward. And then on the secular side, you're a protector, you're a provider. And I think if you're going to fast forward and we're talking to young men and women now, I think the best thing to do is you can have a combination of those two, number one. And then number two, it's as long as you have those roles defined, I think the better off both parties would be. But if you don't talk about it and you don't identify, hey, here's my role, here's yours, and you don't have that conversation, because remember, your idea of a man and the next person and what he needs from a woman is going to be completely different. But that conversation has to take place at some point. That way the roles are defined. That way no one's in competition. The goals and outcomes are clearly identified. And then moving forward, there won't be no gender fluid mix up later on and kids confused as well.
That's exactly right. And that's where that confusion comes in at, when they're not defined. And then there's so much wisdom concerning just all the intricate things in a marriage or a relationship. And it's just, even like wisdom dictates certain conversations that you have in front of your children sometimes. You know, you might be having some friction between one another, but around children, for their mental health and their psychological well-being
and their stability.
Absolutely. All their stability hinges on that, on the attitudes that moms and dad have. And that's why so many children are dysfunctional. And that's why they can't perform in school and whatnot, because their security at home from their mom and dad has been threatened. See, if they feel like there's some tension between mom and dad and there's a loss of love between mom and dad, then that's directly related to children's stability and how they're going to perform, because that's their security.
Yeah. And when I think of it as well, just to add on top of that, when I think of manhood, and I remember you mentioned this as well previously, end of the day, you know, no one's going to come to save the man, so to speak. And on top of that,
facts.
It's going to be your fault. So no matter what happens, you know, every man or woman, each individual have excuses. So women get excuses, men get excuses.
But that's why you can't be afraid to be a man and be masculine.
Yeah. And again, the world's not fair, right? Just like men usually get the excuse of, oh, well, all men are dogs and they go be promiscuous and go sleep around, and women get mad at that. Like, why does he get to go mess around and do this? And that's our excuse. And same with women. If they fail, guess what's going to happen? They're going to say, well, she did the best she could with what the resources she had. Men, we don't get that excuse. So at the end of the day, it's bad to just to point fingers, like who has the shorter end of the stick, so to speak. But if you're speaking to some young male out there, at the end of the day, remember, at the end of the day, it's gonna be your fault, especially if you wrap in children into it. Because no matter what happens, if your child later on ends up being in a gang or gets killed or gets robbery, or the woman struggling or whatnot, they're gonna point at you like, "Hey, what went wrong? You know what? This all didn't happen if you didn't mess with that sorry behind." You know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's, well, you know, and the finger pointing, that took place in Genesis too. When they did what God told them not to do, guess what the first excuse was?
What's that?
Adam's excuse in that 3rd chapter in verse 12. And the man said, the woman whom you gave to be with me. In other words, God said, I'll make her help me.
Blame immediately, like, hey, you put her here.
And you gave her to me. That's nearly what he's saying. The man said, the woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree and I did eat. And as a man, that was not acceptable to God. Excuses are not acceptable.
So you know what that means? That means no matter what, it's your fault. So that's exactly right. That was a valid excuse. Even that was a valid excuse.
And you know why it's your fault? Because the command was given unto you. It wasn't given to Eve. And that's why I say, you're the man, so don't make no apologies for being the masculine and for being the head.
Yeah.
The woman is the weaker vessel. But it didn't stop there. Just go to show you the effects of sin. Because look at the woman. She had her excuse also. Because verse 13 says, and the Lord God said unto the woman, what is this that you have done? So in other words, that speaks of the man and the woman being accountable in their marriage for what they do. God holds everybody responsible. He said, what is it that you have done? Look at her excuse. She going to blame the serpent. She said, and the woman said, the serpent tricked me or beguiled me, and I did eat. So nobody wanted to take responsibility. That's right where we are in society right now on a lot of jobs. Nobody wants to take responsibility for what their role is and what they're supposed to do. We always want to push it off on somebody else, but can't do that. Everybody's accountable and everybody's responsible, bottom line. And as a man in the masculine side, he has to hold everybody responsible in the household. And to this day, me and my wife fought her sometime when she said, well, I thought this, that's past tense.
Yeah.
Got to be actively engaged like that. See, and that's why you have to stay in the moment, because life continues to progressively move forward. And so, as a man, being a masculine man, just like our video showed earlier, you ain't gonna be wasting no time waiting on nothing. You got to go get it. That's
you anyways.
Right there in the foundational pages of Genesis. That's what you were put here for.
Yeah.